In the far reaches of the galaxy, where stars shimmered like scattered diamonds, the Zeathian flagship floated silently. Its surface was smooth, reflective, and shaped like a crescent moon. Inside, hundreds of Zeathians moved with precision, their long limbs gliding over panels that emitted soft, pulsing lights. They were explorers, scientists, and thinkers of a highly advanced civilization that valued harmony above all things. Among them was Enthar, a young researcher whose curiosity often got him into trouble. Unlike others, Enthar loved to study strange, unpredictable signals. He spent hours analyzing sounds from distant planets, trying to understand patterns that could explain life in other corners of the galaxy. Today, his focus was on a small blue planet called Earth. Earth was chaotic. Its signals were strange, messy, and full of unpredictable vibrations. Most Zeathians avoided it, dismissing it as a primitive world. But Enthar could not resist. As he tuned his sensors, he noticed a peculiar transmission. It was loud, sharp, and unlike anything he had ever heard. The notes clashed, twisted, and roared, vibrating through his neural receptors in ways that made his heart, or what humans would call his heart, beat faster. "What is this?" Enthar whispered to himself. His antennae twitched with excitement. The sound was not structured like typical Earth music, which was already unusual. It was aggressive, chaotic, and powerful. But beneath the noise, he sensed a strange intelligence, a pattern only he could feel. He amplified the signal, and suddenly the entire lab was filled with the sound. It was like a storm trapped in a small room. Lights flickered, panels hummed, and even the calmest Zeathians froze in confusion. This is not normal," said Elder Vorin, the head of the research wing, approaching Enthar's station. "What have you found, young one?" Enthar's eyes glimmered. "It is music, but unlike anything we know. It is human heavy metal." The elder raised an eyebrow. "Heavy what?" "It is Earth music. Humans call it heavy metal. It is loud, fast, chaotic, and full of emotion. But it is also fascinating." Elder Vorin frowned. "Emotion? You mean the primitive kind?" "Yes, but more than that, it is energy. Pure energy expressed through sound." Enthar hesitated. "I think it could be dangerous if we broadcast it to the fleet." "Dangerous? Enthar, you exaggerate." But Enthar was already ignoring him. He had transmitted the signal to a wider channel for testing, curious to see its effect on others. The moment the heavy metal blasted through the flagship's main system, pandemonium erupted. Zeathians began moving erratically, some spinning in confusion, others flailing their long arms. The normally silent halls filled with loud mechanical alarms as systems overloaded. Even the artificial gravity shifted slightly as the vibrations resonated through the ship. "What is happening?" shouted Vorin, trying to regain control. Enthar's antennae quivered in excitement. "It is reacting to the music. Their neural patterns are overwhelmed, but it is beautiful." From the control deck, the captain's holographic image appeared. His expression of disbelief mirrored the chaos around him. "Enthar, stop the broadcast immediately." But Enthar could not. The music had him too. He felt alive, energized, and oddly understood. For the first time, he felt a connection to another intelligent species, not through logic, but through emotion. Down on Earth, the band responsible for the transmission was entirely unaware of the interstellar incident. They were playing in a small, crowded garage, guitars screaming, drums pounding, and vocals echoing off the walls. To the humans, it was just another Friday night practice. To Enthar and his ship, it was a cosmic storm. As the chaos spread through the flagship, smaller research ships nearby began picking up the broadcast. Enthar watched as their systems faltered, holograms glitching, and crew members stumbling over each other. The heavy metal had traveled light years instantly, and its effects were unpredictable. Elder Vorin grabbed Enthar's arm. "Do you realize what you have done? You could destabilize the entire fleet." I know," Enthar said, wide-eyed. but it is thrilling. Humans express something through this music, something we do not have. It is raw, powerful, and alive. Vorin shook his head. It is dangerous. Stop it before it causes more damage. Inthar hesitated. He wanted to stop, but the sound coursed through him like liquid fire. His body moved in rhythm, instinctively swaying and pulsing with the beat. He felt a strange joy he had never experienced. Suddenly, the entire flagship went dark. Alarms ceased, systems flickered, and then silence. Inthar opened his eyes slowly. Around him, the crew was dazed but unharmed. Some were laughing, some were clapping, and a few were trying to imitate human air guitar. The elder looked at him with an incredulous expression. "What happened?" Vorin asked. Inthar smiled. "I think they liked it." And then a strange thought crossed his mind. What if humans were not just primitive creatures? What if their creativity, their chaos, was something to be respected, even admired? What if this music was just the beginning of something far greater? He glanced at the transmission console. Another track was ready, pulsing with energy, waiting for him to play. His antennae twitched with excitement. He pressed a button. The heavy metal roared again, and somewhere deep in the galaxy, the Zeathians began to dance. Outside the flagship, in the cold emptiness of space, lights flickered on distant planets. Signals picked up the vibrations. The universe had never felt anything like it, and for the first time, humans, without knowing it, had caused cosmic chaos through music. Inthar laughed. It was a deep, melodic laugh that echoed across the ship. The elder groaned but could not help a small smile. Perhaps we are ready to learn from them," he muttered. The chapter ended with Inthar looking at the Earth signals on his screen, his heart racing. This was not just music. This was a bridge between species. And little did he know, the chaos had only just begun. The Zeathian flagship had barely recovered from the first blast of human heavy metal when the consequences began to ripple outward. Inthar watched, fascinated, as chaos spread like a wave through every corner of the ship. In the observation deck, holographic maps showed dozens of research and communication vessels orbiting distant planets. Each one was now picking up the same transmission. And the effect? Total pandemonium. Captain Rival, a tall Zeathian with shimmering silver skin, tried to maintain order. "Shut it down. All of you shut it down now," he barked. But the crew could not obey. Their neural patterns were tangled in the rhythmic, thunderous waves of the music. Long arms flailed as if they were dancing, antennae twisted in confusion, and some even collided with walls or panels in their uncoordinated movements. "What is happening to them?" Elder Vorin asked, holding onto a console for support. "They are overwhelmed," Inthar admitted, his voice trembling with excitement. "It is like nothing I have ever studied. Their neural networks are responding to the frequencies in ways I cannot fully predict, but it is wonderful." Vorin gave him a warning look. "Wonderful." "Inthar, this is catastrophic." "Perhaps," Inthar said, "but it is also alive. Humans, they put energy into everything they do, and somehow it reaches across the stars." Meanwhile, on the smaller research ships, the results were even stranger. One vessel's crew had formed what could only be described as a metal circle, spinning in rhythm, antennae waving in perfect chaos. A holographic projector flickered wildly, projecting random patterns that somehow matched the tempo of the music. In another ship, two Zeathians tried to play instruments they had never used before, producing sounds that were unpleasant but perfectly aligned with the human tracks. From Inthar's perspective, it was beautiful. It was not dangerous in a harmful way. No one was hurt. But the sight of these highly advanced beings behaving like overexcited children was mesmerizing. It was the first time he realized that something as simple as music could break the rules of an entire civilization without destroying it. "Captain Rival," Inthar said, almost pleading, "we cannot stop this. Not yet. I think the music is teaching them something." Rival's eyes narrowed. teaching them. Enthar, they are losing control. But control, it seemed, was no longer relevant. In one wing, a Zeathian scientist had accidentally knocked over a container of delicate crystal samples. They clattered to the floor in slow motion, then began to resonate with the vibrations of the music, creating new tones that harmonized with the heavy metal track. "Look at that," Enthar exclaimed. "Even the crystals are responding," Vorin groaned. "This is absurd. Everything is absurd. We have never experienced this level of unpredictability." In the mess hall, a group of Zeathians had gathered, moving in erratic circles. Some attempted to mimic human air guitar, stretching their long fingers across invisible strings. Others banged on random surfaces, creating a cacophony of noise that somehow sounded good. Their species, which prized precision, order, and control, had descended into joyful chaos. Even the food replicators began behaving strangely. Vibrations from the music caused small pulses in the molecular patterns. Meals reshaped themselves into abstract forms. A tray of gelatinous cubes began bouncing across the room in rhythm with the drums, causing laughter, confusion, and a strange sense of shared enjoyment. "It is everywhere," Elder Vorin muttered. "Every system, every crew member affected." "Yes," Enthar said softly, "and yet look at them. They are happy." Outside the flagship, the chaos was mirrored on the surrounding ships. A Zeathian cruiser spun uncontrollably for a few seconds before regaining stability, as if it were dancing with the music. Communication satellites were overloaded with signals, but instead of failing, they started transmitting their own strange harmonic feedback. The universe was becoming a giant symphony. Back on the flagship, Enthar moved to the main console and expanded the music feed. He wanted to see how far the chaos reached. Thousands of kilometers away, the smaller ships were vibrating, twirling, and emitting light patterns that matched the beat. Even distant robotic drones, which usually moved in perfect formation, were now swaying, spinning, and accidentally bumping into one another. "Is this sustainable?" Vorin asked nervously. "I do not know," Enthar admitted. "But I think this is not just chaos, it is adaptation. Humans do something we cannot. They create energy that influences the mind and body not with force but with rhythm, passion, and expression." Suddenly, a loud, distorted note echoed across the fleet. It was louder, faster, and stranger than before. Enthar's eyes widened. "They have changed the track. Humans are improvising." The fleet responded instantly. Lights blinked, crew members shouted, or their version of shouting, and instruments on board the ships began producing new, accidental melodies. The Zeathians were not merely reacting, they were learning from the music. Captain Rival's voice boomed across the flagship. "Enthar, we cannot handle this. Stop the transmission." But Enthar shook his head. "No, we cannot. This is a lesson. Humans do not just play music. They communicate in ways we cannot fully understand, and somehow it travels across space." Vorin sighed and rubbed his temples. "I cannot believe I am saying this, but it is fascinating. They are showing us a side of life we never considered. Pure joy, creativity, freedom." In one corridor, two Zeathians had started an impromptu dance-off, moving in strange, jerky patterns that somehow matched the heavy metal rhythms. Others joined. The dance grew chaotic but synchronized in an impossible way. Even Enthar, who had initiated this experiment, joined in, spinning and twirling with abandon. And yet, amid the chaos, a pattern began to emerge. Systems that had been overwhelmed were adapting. Panels stabilized, lights blinked in rhythm, and the music created a new sense of harmony within the madness. This is extraordinary," Enthar whispered. "They are not broken, they are evolving." Vorin's antennae twitched in disbelief. "Evolving from a song." "Yes," Enthar said. "Humans have created something that changes not only emotions but perception, coordination, and thought. They are teachers, whether we understand it or not." From the main observation window, Enthar saw a distant planet bathed in the soft glow of its star. He imagined the humans there, completely unaware of the chaos they had caused across the galaxy, and he smiled. Perhaps humans were not primitive at all. Perhaps they were the most dangerous kind of intelligence, the kind that could inspire change, energy, and creativity in beings far more advanced than themselves. As the fleet slowly began to stabilize, Enthar made a decision. He would not stop the music. Not yet. Instead, he would study it, understand it, and share it. Humans had opened a door and the Zeathians were standing at the threshold, unsure whether to enter, but eager to explore. The final note of the human heavy metal track faded. Silence returned, but it was not calm. It was alive. The crew, though exhausted, felt a new energy. Eyes sparkled, antennae twitched, and even the normally stoic Captain Rival cracked a small, reluctant smile. "This is only the beginning," Enthar said to himself, gazing at the screens filled with Earth signals. "And we have no idea what comes next." Somewhere far below, humans continued their music, unaware of the cosmic chaos they had caused. And the Zeathians, once serene, controlled, and orderly, had discovered a new dimension of life. One filled with rhythm, energy, and the unpredictable brilliance of human creativity. And somewhere deep in the flagship, Enthar laughed, a deep, joyous laugh that echoed through the halls. The chaos had not ended. It had just begun. The chaos on the Zeathian fleet had settled slightly, but the energy remained. Ships hummed with residual vibrations, crew members twitched and swayed in rhythm, and panels blinked with strange light patterns that seemed to dance along with the echoes of heavy metal. Enthar stood at the main console, staring at the Earth signals. He had watched humans play their music for hours now. Though they seemed unaware of the chaos they caused across the galaxy, their raw energy and creativity fascinated him. He realized humans were not only unique, they were brilliant in a way the Zeathians could barely comprehend. "We cannot ignore them," Enthar said to Elder Vorin, who had spent the last hour trying to analyze the effects of the music. "We must contact them." Vorin's antennae twitched. "Contact them? Enthar, are you insane? We have no way of speaking to primitive humans directly." "And what would you even say? Stop playing music. We have already learned that is impossible." Enthar smiled. "Not stop, not yet. We need to understand, to observe, and perhaps invite them to share with us." Vorin groaned, but there was curiosity in his eyes. "You want to hold a human heavy metal festival with humans?" "Yes," Enthar said simply. "From their perspective, it will be a simple transmission. From ours, it could teach us more than any experiment ever could." The decision was made. A holographic projector stretched across the main hall of the flagship. On it appeared a live Earth feed, showing the band playing in their small garage. Enthar adjusted the frequencies so the humans could hear and see a few Zeathians, friendly, curious faces, glowing softly through the interstellar connection. The humans blinked in confusion at first. They were playing a fast, noisy song, and suddenly, ghostly alien figures appeared in the middle of their garage. One of them waved, tilting its head in a gesture that clearly meant hello. Guys," said the drummer, pausing mid-beat, "are we seeing things?" Enthar laughed softly. "No, they are real and they are watching you." The humans, though startled, quickly adapted. The guitarist smiled and nodded. "Okay, sure. Hello, aliens. You like metal?" The Zeathians mirrored smiles. Enthar's voice echoed through the translation system, calm and respectful. "We do. We wish to learn from you." The guitarist raised an eyebrow. "Learn from us? You mean like how to rock?" "Yes," Enthar said, "and how to share energy, joy, and creativity through music." At first the humans laughed nervously, but the idea was exciting. "Well, I guess we can try," said the drummer. "Let's play like we normally do." Enthar adjusted the transmission. The music now flowed directly from the humans' instruments into the Zeathians' ships, with subtle harmonics to protect the alien nervous systems from overload. The heavy metal thundered again, but this time it was controlled chaos, and the Zeathians danced. In the flagship, crew members moved with purpose. Their previously erratic movements now had rhythm, guided by the humans' beat. Antennae twitched to the tempo, long limbs swayed like wind-blown trees, and some even began experimenting with instruments of their own. One Zeathian discovered a strange talent for striking panels in perfect rhythm, producing beautiful metallic tones. "This is incredible," Elder Vorin muttered. "They are learning from the humans, and the humans are learning from us." Enthar nodded. "It is mutual. Music is universal." In the garage on Earth, the humans noticed the aliens reacting to their music. Lights flickered, strange patterns appeared on the walls, and their own instruments seemed to resonate with an energy they could feel but not understand. The guitarist laughed. "Okay, I think we're making friends." "Yes," said the drummer, "friends or the start of something bigger." As the session continued, Enthar observed the patterns forming across the fleet. Even the most disciplined Zeathians began experimenting with improvisation, inspired by the humans' raw energy. They added flourishes, extra beats, and melodic pulses. It was a new form of collaboration, a fusion of species through music. Meanwhile, the humans grew more confident. They started sending simple messages through the transmission, waving, laughing, and joking. They did not know it, but their humor, spontaneity, and creativity were reshaping the Zeathians' understanding of life. One particularly brave human, a young keyboard player, added a synth line to the music. The Zeathians paused. It was strange, unfamiliar, but it fit perfectly. The fleet pulsed with energy, lights flowing in rhythm with the new addition. Enthar clapped his hands. "See, they teach us constantly. Every note, every rhythm is a lesson." Even Captain Rival was changing. The stern Zeathian, who had shouted orders only hours ago, now found himself tapping his long foot to the beat. A small smile played across his face as he realized that humans' creativity was contagious. Hours passed, and a rhythm of mutual learning took shape. The humans improvised. The Zeathians adapted. Every error, every unexpected flourish became part of the growing harmony. The fleet's systems, once overwhelmed, began to resonate naturally with the music, creating a subtle network of shared energy that Enthar called synchronization. "This is beyond science," Vorin said quietly. "It is life itself expressed." The humans noticed the change in the aliens. Movements became smoother, gestures became more intentional, and laughter echoed through the communication link. One human shouted into the mic, "You guys are really good at this." Enthar laughed. "They are learning from you and you from them." Then an unexpected discovery occurred. One of the younger Zeathians, experimenting with vibration panels, discovered that the music could trigger small changes in ship systems, lights, holograms, even minor propulsion adjustments, without any risk. It was as if the music itself had become a language, a way to communicate across species. "This could be revolutionary," Enthar whispered. "Humans, they teach us not just through thought but through creation, energy, and expression. Their metal, it is a bridge." The humans, unaware of the cosmic scale of their influence, continued to play with joy. Their instruments screamed, drums thundered, and vocals soared. Yet in that simple garage, they were doing what humans did best, expressing themselves boldly and without fear. Enthar realized something profound. Humans were not just musicians, they were teachers, artists, and connectors of life. In their chaos, they carried order and beauty that no Zeathian system could replicate. The session ended with a flourish. The humans struck their final chord, and the Zeathians responded with synchronized lights, movements, and harmonic vibrations. Silence followed, but it was a silence full of anticipation and energy. "This is only the beginning," Enthar said softly. "We will continue to learn from them, and perhaps one day we can visit them, not as conquerors, not as overseers, but as students of their creativity." Vorin looked at him, stunned. Students of humans. Yes, Enthar said, smiling. It is time we admit that humans are extraordinary, in ways we never imagined. Outside the fleet, signals reached distant parts of the galaxy. Other civilizations, curious about the strange harmonic patterns, began to notice. And somewhere the humans continued their music, unaware that they had become the first teachers of interstellar joy. As Enthar watched, he felt a surge of excitement. The chaos of the first contact had evolved into something far greater, a connection, a bridge, and a mutual respect. The Zeathians, once orderly and controlled, had discovered a new way to live, through rhythm, energy, and the unpredictable brilliance of humans. And deep inside, Enthar laughed, a rich, melodic laugh that echoed across the flagship. The universe had never experienced anything like this, and he knew that the story of humans and Zeathians was only beginning. Weeks had passed since the first interstellar heavy metal transmission. The Zeathian fleet was no longer chaotic, but alive in a way it had never been before. Hallways pulsed with soft light in rhythm with residual earth music, and crew members occasionally twitched or moved in subtle dance-like motions. The fleet had adapted to the human energy. It had become part of them. Enthar walked through the main deck, observing the changes. Elder Vorin, now relaxed and smiling more than anyone would have thought possible, waved from a nearby console. Even Captain Rival, who had once been the most rigid of all, now tapped a foot to a hidden beat and nodded to passing crew. "This is remarkable," Vorin said. "They have changed us without even stepping foot on our ships." "Yes," Enthar replied, gazing at the Earth transmission screen. The humans were preparing for another session of music. This time, they were aware that their art was influencing not just one alien civilization, but a fleet of highly advanced beings. The humans were nervous at first, but their natural creativity took over. The guitarist shouted, "Let's make this one big." The drummer laughed and counted in, and the music roared across the stars. Every Zeathian on the fleet felt it. The vibrations moved through floors, walls, and even the ship's hulls, creating a resonance that synchronized everything. Crew members worked with the music instead of against it, moving panels, adjusting controls, and even redirecting energy flows in harmony with the human rhythm. "This is astonishing," said Rival quietly to Enthar. "I never imagined music could influence systems, people, everything in this way." Enthar nodded. "It is not just music, it is human creativity. It is life itself expressed." As the session continued, an idea formed in Enthar's mind. He turned to Vorin and whispered, "We need to invite them, not just over a transmission, but here, on a neutral platform. We must meet them, celebrate them, show them how far their music has traveled." Vorin's antennae twitched nervously. A human festival in space. "Are you certain they could panic or worse?" "They will not," Enthar insisted. "They are brave, curious, just like us in a way, and they will teach us more if we respect them." Preparations began immediately. A massive neutral platform, orbiting a small, safe moon, was cleared and transformed into an interstellar stage. Lights, panels, and holographic projectors were arranged to create an environment that humans could safely inhabit. And then, the humans were invited. They arrived in specially designed Earth Zeathian shuttles, small and safe, but capable of transmitting their presence across the fleet. They marveled at the alien ships, the lights, and the sheer scale of the gathering. "Whoa, this is insane," said the drummer, his eyes wide. "It's like outer space Disneyland," the guitarist laughed, "and we get to play our music for everyone." "Yes," Enthar said warmly, "and we are here to celebrate you, your creativity, your courage, your music." The humans took their place on the stage, guitars in hand, drums ready, and voices prepared. Around them, Zeathians had begun experimenting with instruments, lights, and sound panels. This would not be a simple performance. It would be a fusion of two civilizations, creativity. When the first chord rang out, the platform pulsed in response. Lights flashed in harmony with the beat, and the Zeathians moved in rhythm, creating a spectacle unlike anything in the galaxy. Some Zeathians played instruments for the first time, imitating human techniques. Others danced, waved, and contributed to the ambient music with sounds of their own, mechanical pulses, vocal hums, and harmonic vibrations that enhanced the performance. The humans laughed and adjusted, improvising to include the alien contributions. Every misstep became a feature. Every accidental sound found its place in the growing cosmic symphony. "This is amazing," said the guitarist, turning to his bandmates. "We're making music with aliens." "And they're learning from us," the drummer replied, laughing as he struck an unusual rhythm that matched the Zeathians' light patterns. Enthar watched with pride. What had begun as chaos had transformed into collaboration, understanding, and joy. Humans, the seemingly simple species from a tiny blue planet, had taught the Zeathians something that no science, experiment, or technology could replicate: the power of expression, energy, and connection. As the music reached its peak, signals from other civilizations began to pick up the vibrations. Some distant observers were intrigued, sensing something extraordinary but not understanding it fully. Humans had unintentionally become a cultural bridge for the galaxy, a species whose creativity inspired life beyond its planet. On the platform, Enthar stepped forward. "Humans," he said, "you have shown us that intelligence is not only measured by technology or precision. It is measured by courage, by creativity, by the ability to inspire and connect. Today we celebrate you not as subjects, not as curiosities, but as teachers, as equals, and as friends." The humans cheered. "Yeah," the guitarist shouted. "We're just playing our music, but wow. You guys really like it." "Yes," Enthar said. "We do more than like it. You have changed us. You have changed the way we live, think, and feel." The heavy metal surged again, louder, richer, and more harmonious than ever before. The humans and Zeathians merged their sounds into a single cosmic symphony. Notes and rhythms flowed like rivers through the platform, the ships, and across the fleet. Lights blinked in synchronization, and even the distant planets seemed to shimmer in response. Captain Rival, who had once been skeptical, now smiled fully. "Humans, you are extraordinary," he said quietly to Enthar. "Yes," Enthar agreed. "They are, and this is only the beginning." As the final chord rang out, a profound silence followed. It was a silence full of energy, respect, and wonder. The humans looked at the Zeathians, unsure what to expect, and the Zeathians looked at the humans, full of admiration. "This is beautiful," Elder Vorin whispered. "They have shown us something no data or calculation ever could," Enthar nodded. "Yes, they have reminded us that life is more than order, more than control, more than technology. Life is energy, creativity, and connection, and humans are masters of it." The humans smiled, proud and a little overwhelmed. They had never intended to teach a civilization across the stars, but somehow their passion and courage had done just that. As the festival ended, the Zeathians and humans shook hands, or the alien equivalent of hands, and exchanged gestures of respect. It was a moment that would be remembered for generations. The day humans became teachers of the galaxy, not through force, not through conquest, but through creativity, passion, and music. Outside the platform, the fleet pulsed with a new energy. Systems hummed in harmony, crew members moved with joy, and even distant signals from other civilizations began to pick up subtle hints of the cosmic performance. Humans had unknowingly started a movement that would ripple across the galaxy for years to come. Enthar stood back and observed. "They did not conquer with weapons," he said softly. "They did not rule with power. They conquered with their hearts, their minds, and their music. That is truly human." And somewhere deep inside he laughed. It was not just laughter of joy, but of awe. Humanity had proven itself in a way no one could have imagined. not as warriors, not as conquerors, but as creators, connectors, and inspirers of life itself. The universe had never known such energy, such creativity, or such chaos, turned into beauty. And as humans and Zeathians looked at each other, sharing a simple nod, a smile, and the beat of music that would echo across the stars, Enthar realized one thing clearly. The galaxy would never be the same again, because humanity had arrived, and they were extraordinary. When aliens hear human heavy metal for the first time, total chaos ensues.